The rest is just the same, isn't it? It doesn't really work, does it? Did you try? Shouldn't it be a bit more? Or this? This? Yes.
Antonio Salieri was a well-known opera composer and music teacher. Here, in this scene in the movie Amadeus, Salieri has composed a short march to welcome Mozart that is played by the Emperor on the piano. Shortly after discussing an opera that will be commissioned to Mozart, the Emperor gives Mozart the march that Salieri has composed. Mozart refuses the manuscript as he has already memorized the music. Mozart then sits down at the piano and plays Salieri's march, halfway through the score before making changes and casually improvising into an aria from his opera, The Marriage of Figaro. In this video, I'll be answering two questions. Was this an event that actually happened in history? And regardless of whether or not it happened in history, can Mozart's improvisation be considered an improvement over Salieri's composition? The answer to the first question is actually rather straightforward, and that is no. Salieri did not compose this piece, and Mozart did not improvise on it. The piece in the movie that Salieri allegedly composed is just a simplified version of Mozart's aria from The Marriage of Figaro, to provide an origin story for the aria when Mozart improvised it out of Salieri's music. However, Mozart actually composed the aria himself, and this event when Mozart creates it out of Salieri's march is entirely fictional. Even if Salieri composed the march that inspired Mozart's aria, Mozart would not have made a scene out of his improvisation of the work. Mozart had a humorous, sometimes childlike character, but he was certainly able to compose himself, especially in formal settings like those depicted in the scene. There are mixed interpretations about Mozart having a rivalry with Salieri, and their relationship is often the subject of rumors and fiction. Mozart sometimes wrote in letters about his lack of success being a result of Salieri and the Italians in general, due to the influence that Italian opera had in Austria. Mozart's contempt of Salieri worsened when he lost an opera composition competition against Salieri in 1786 in front of the Emperor. However, Salieri often promoted Mozart's music and attended showings of his operas, and the two even collaborated on a cantata for voice and piano. Salieri also gave music lessons to Mozart's youngest son. These behaviors do not exhibit the same hateful relationship that Salieri and Mozart had in the movie. But let's say that this event really did happen, and Mozart really improvised his aria out of Salieri's march. Can we consider Mozart's embellishments to be an improvement over the original? Well, in the movie, we, the audience, are supposed to see Mozart's playing as an improvement. Since the original piece was so simple, adding in lots of embellishments would make the piece seem more grandiose or even virtuosic. However, Salieri's original piece and Mozart's improvisation are actually so musically different that they cannot be compared. In fact, the only thing they really have in common is the harmony. If we take a look at the score for Salieri's original march, the chord progression would be C major, G major, C major, G major, A minor, C major, G major, and finally again, ending on C major. So, mostly just C and G major with a single A minor chord. Then the chords simply repeat again with slightly different melodic material. These chord progressions are very common in classical music. If Mozart wanted to actually do an improvisation like this in real life, all he would have to do is fill this very simple harmonic progression with his own material, and not worry about the specific notes that Salieri composed. Towards the end of Mozart's improvisation, the underlying harmony no longer matches what Salieri wrote, and by that point, Mozart is playing an entirely different piece. But this is all to say that Salieri's piece and Mozart's piece cannot be compared. Music is subjective, and both versions of the march are unique and special in their own way. Mozart was a good improviser, but if Mozart really did improvise on Salieri's march as in the movie, it really would not have been seen as a moment of genius, as the march is very short and harmonically simple. Mozart and Salieri each have their own moments of genius, and this scene from Amadeus shouldn't have any effect on how we see these composers or the relationship that they had with each other as colleagues. That's all for this video. If you found this interesting, please consider liking and subscribing for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.